Siddharth, I'd like to quickly come to you first. How did something like this even happen? Was it not foreseen? Was there some kind of mishandling? Because, the Tata group, knows what they're doing. A merger can always be complicated. We've seen it in the past as well. Was something like this not foreseen?
Well, this has been in some ways 3 years in the making after the Tatas reacquired Air India. What is at the crux of the issue? The crux of the issue is Vistara as a full-service airline and the kind of quality of service and obviously top-notch talent, including the pay they were getting. When you are integrating it with Air India Express and Air India pilots accepted that, Vistara pilots haven't accepted that. And in some ways, this is a coordinated industrial action of protest. But merging Vistara into Air India, the big question that is being asked by various aviation experts is whether the Tatas could have done it better. Remember, the turnaround of Air India, Shiv, is something that is going to be a unique example globally, not just in India. A challenge of this scale has not been attempted before, and the Tatas are putting in serious money into it. Remember that massive order that has been placed. So Air India is preparing for a future, but currently the turbulence that we are seeing could be the difference in a game between a test match, Shiv, and T20. A test match has to be played with a different strategy, a T20 with a different strategy, and bringing these two airlines together, even as the turnaround of Air India is still a work in progress, perhaps leaves a big question mark, Shiv.
Very, very important point because, even though it's been 3 years in the making, what has happened over the last few weeks has not only hit Vistara's reputation, but has also obviously impacted its day-to-day operations in a very big way. And remember, post-COVID, civil aviation continues to be extremely precarious. Squadron Leader Debulina, you know a thing or two about aviation. You're a pilot as well. What do you think about the pilots' protest that's taking place? Mass sick leave being encashed, people staying away, a lot of discontent among the pilot community in Vistara. What do you think about their stand on this issue, ma'am?
Good evening, Shiv. Thank you for calling me live on this discussion. Just one thing is that I am not able to share my video with you. So if you could just check for that. All right.
We can see you. Go ahead.
Okay, as we already spoke about it, and Mr. Zarabi also said that this is a period of turbulence. Aviation is a very, very, very dynamic industry because, a lot of things everything, the stake is very high, whether it's the aircrafts, the trainings, the pilots, the flights that are planned, and the on-time departures and everything. Everything is on a high stake, and it's a very dynamic thing. So when there is any amount of stirring or any amount of turbulence like this merger, and a merger is not of two public or two private companies coming together. It's a merger of Air India, which was run by government for so many years, with Vistara, which is also in itself it's a white elephant. It's a airline which caters for the business class. So when a merger of this kind takes place, we are sure to have some amount of turmoil and turbulence. Because you see, when two companies merge, their policies, the HR programs are different. And for one another to accept the HR programs of the other, it takes time. It takes a lot of sitting together and curating and making a policy which would go hands in hand with both the companies. When it comes to pilots, you see, any pilot who is flying, he definitely loves his job to go to the cockpit. It's a job where you cannot perform without liking it. Like I've heard a lot of my IT friends or my other industries that they are tired of the work, but they have to do it. But for a pilot, he has to love his work to be able to go. So you can understand that this protest of pilots has definitely come after they've been patient for a long time. The merger happened long time back, and they must have been facing a lot of difficulties for the last 2 years. But when things went out of control is when I think they united to protest, because when you have a lifestyle depending on the amount of money that you are getting and the amount you spend to get the training, you must you must be aware that to become a commercial pilot, the amount of expenditure is huge. So to be able to live up to that kind of a lifestyle, that huge loans or expenditures or whatever, mostly we are talking about the first officers, it has to be dealt with correctly. So what I feel is, probably after waiting for a long time, it must be that they have not been able to take it anymore.
I understand what you're saying. You're saying the pilots wouldn't just randomly go off on leave like this. It must have been a situation that has become desperate and they see no other way because there is otherwise no other situation where pilots who love their job and are dependent on these jobs, why would they go off on mass leave of this kind? Siddharth, bringing you back in now, two questions. A, what are you hearing from Vistara and Tata? How are they planning to navigate this issue? We've just saw that breaking news break from Polomi saying that the Vistara CEO has reached out to the agitating pilots. And B, how is this going to impact, airline fares? A very busy summer season coming up, summer holidays, lots of people will be flying in and out of India. How is it going to affect that?
Well, on the HR part, very clearly, Shiv, the size of the Tata empire and their experience in dealing with all manner of HR issues is very well known. The fact that they decided to follow this strategy because they had a certain plan for Air India, in the larger scheme of things, they do not see a future for Vistara, although there are some people, Shiv, who have argued that perhaps Vistara could have been kept as a boutique kind of separate, full service, much higher experience, but that's their corporate plan. I don't know how it will pan out, but in the past we have seen industrial action, and I put that in quotes, usually ending up in favor of the management. There might be some number of employees or pilots who would leave and join other airlines, Indigo still being the largest, although Air India is now, and some of us may not know that, they've reached a market share of around 30%, which is far ahead of their own target. On the second part of what happens to airfares, now post-COVID, we saw a significant uptick in travel after that period of no travel. And this summer season, if this is going to continue, this will have certain spillover effects. We are already seeing that on prime routes where fares have shot up considerably. You will have a hot summer for airfares. There will be disruptions, and flying within India is going to get expensive, and not just the delays. So obviously at some point the government, which is looking at this already, will feel a little more concerned. But in the larger scheme of things, are airfares going to go back to the glory days where you could buy tickets at considerably cheap levels? No. Inflation plus industrial action is going to impact your summer travel plans. That's for sure.